everyone. Welcome to Revelation Talk. My name is Apostle Manfred, and I'm very honored and humbled to be here on the invite of our great apostle, Apostle Jahal. The book of Genesis chapter 1 verse 14, there is the creation of the demarcation of time. The book of Genesis 1 verse 14, we find God separating the day from the night and then placing the constellations and the elements of the sky, such as the moon and the sun, to be signs for seasons. So therefore, we find that in the book of Genesis 1 verse 14, there was the creation of times and seasons. One of the things that I want to highlight today quickly for any believer is that times and seasons are for the advantage of a believer. Times and seasons are created for the advantage of a believer. Just like how everything else that is in the earth, it was created to give the believer an advantage. Now, because times and seasons are very abstract, a lot of us struggle to put them in the category where they are supposed to be. Because when God created times and seasons, it is one of the things that he then goes on to say in the book of Genesis 1 verse 27, that now let men have dominion over everything that is in the earth. It is a very easy misconception where you can find that times and seasons are not put in the place where a believer has dominion over them, and rather a believer then has seasons having dominion over them. I'll try to explain this. In the book of Luke, chapter 11, we find an encounter of Jesus with a fig tree. And when Jesus sees the fig tree, the Bible actually says that it was out of its season of figs, and there were no figs on the tree. But yet when Jesus sees the fig tree, he confronts the fig tree to say that there was supposed to be figs even out of season. The standard of God is what Jesus presented to the fig tree, that whilst the earth remains, seed time and harvest remain. Watch this. There is seed time, but harvest is not allocated a time. So therefore, as long as there was a seed that was placed, there was supposed to be an eternal harvest from the fig tree. You and I are part of the seeds that God placed on the earth. And how we are supposed to be functioning is in accordance to what then the Bible talks about being ready in and out of season, whereby seasons do not determine our productivity, seasons don't determine our effectiveness. Rather, we are the ones that determine seasons. I personally believe this, and as the great apostle would say, that this is an idiosyncrasy, because it's a personal belief. I personally believe that the dry season is not for the believer, but a dry season is for the unbeliever. When we talk about the transfer of the wealth of the wicked to the righteous, there has to be a negative season in the world of the wicked, and yet accordingly at the same time there is a positive season in the world of the believer. Watch this. There was a time in the book of 1 Kings we find the prophet who then confronts an enemy, an adversary, by declaring the change of a season. The prophet understood the revelation from day one that the seasons were controlled by what we speak, what we declare. And we are not subject to seasons, but rather seasons are subject to the words that we declare. So you might be going through a very difficult time. You might be going through a very challenging season. But your ability to declare in the challenging season is what will determine the outcome of that season. What will determine the changing or the gathering of clouds over your spiritual life is what you say in that season. The Bible says it this way in the book of Genesis chapter 1 verse 14, that there were symbols for seasons. So for example, when we see the moon, it is a symbol of the night, right? It is a sign of the night. A great inventor then came up with fire, or something that would be used to fight the night. So we do not deny that the night comes, but when we are prepared for the night, we can use the night even to our advantage. I hope you're catching this. So every believer needs to understand that even when a dark season comes, you have to be able to manipulate that season. The season should never have dominion over you. That's why when it is dark, you can still produce a light that you can use in a dark season. So as a believer, you have this authority, you have this power, you have this ability and capability to be able to go through a dark season, and yet light is still coming out of you. So when God talks about you are the light of the world, he understands that as light, your purpose is really shown when there is darkness. So darkness does not become a confrontation to me, but it actually becomes an announcement that there is something that is in me that is greater than that which is in the world. So when we talk of greater is he that is in me, we are talking that it's greater than even the season that I'm going through. Watch this. The Bible talks about how in the book of John, chapter 3, John chapter 2, Jesus is at a wedding in Cana. And when Jesus is at the wedding in Cana, the wine runs out. And his mother approaches him and speaks to him because she understood that he had the ability to get this thing corrected. And yet Jesus in that moment says, "Woman, my time is not yet come." But however, he still goes on to perform the miracle of changing of the water into wine. And as he changes the water into wine, we find something that is very profound in that moment. You see, Jesus did not allow time to govern where he could perform his miracle, or where he could show himself, where he could manifest himself in a certain time. What do I mean? When Jesus said that my time had not yet come, that was an indication that in that moment he did not have to perform a miracle because his time had not yet come. But yet Jesus came to his time. And this is the power of a believer, that even when your time is not yet come, you can come to your time. So there are a lot of believers that are waiting for their time to come, their turn to come. And yes, sometimes God is saying that your time is coming, but sometimes you need to come to your time and to your season. So your ability to translate yourself from a certain season, a negative season, is already in you. God does not allow the seasons to govern you, but rather for you to govern the season. So you can enter into your season even before the time. So when everyone else is waiting for harvest, you can be in a harvest, because you arrived at the harvest as a believer, as a child of God, as one that has got the creative ability of God. You can arrive at your season before others arrive at it. And one of the things, obviously, in this time, in this season again, we are in a period of mourning the great Queen of England, Queen Elizabeth. And I believe that that event is a marker of a season. Whilst we are mourning the death of the Queen, we know that there is the ascension of King Charles. And with his ascension, I believe it's a sign and a symbol of the changing of seasons. You see, Isaiah says it this way, that in the year that King Uzziah died, I saw the Lord. And I know that the apostle always teaches us that it's not like the king died and then he saw the Lord, but rather the apostle teaches us that it was just in the same time frame, that in that same season where there was a death, he saw something. So in a season where people were mourning, where there was sadness, there was uncertainty or darkness, there was still a light that was there. So someone can be going through their darkest season, and yet in that same moment, God shows up and you see a vision of the Lord. So even in this season, there are things that are changing, and understand that as a believer, you have to take advantage of every season. Whether it's day or night, the believer should always have light. My goodness. Whether it's day or night, the believer should always have light. That's why you are called the light of the world. So a season of darkness is never supposed to suppress you or to put you under pressure. A season of lack is never supposed to suppress you or to put you under pressure. No, you have to come to your season. Watch this. Joseph understood seasons to the point that he came to give advice to Pharaoh, because he understood that in the season of plenty, we have to take advantage so that when the season of lack comes, our advantage is there. So by the time even a season of lack comes, if you are moving in the seasons, not waiting for the seasons to move to you, you are already in surplus. So this is my encouragement for you today. Have you been waiting for your season to come? Have you been waiting for your time to come? Yet as a believer, you've been given this power to determine seasons. You've been given the power to have a Goshen experience where even if there is darkness all around, yet light remained in Goshen. As a believer, you can contradict negative seasons. As a believer, you can be the light in the darkness. Doesn't matter if the whole world is going crazy. Doesn't matter if the whole world is going berserk. Yet, as long as you are a believer in the world, you have the ability to effect a positive season. Ladies and gentlemen, as believers, we should never underestimate our responsibility as well to be effectors of seasons. As believers, we have been given the custodianship over seasons. And that's why for me, I know that when the apostle speaks and declares a word over my life, my season has already been transformed, because he is a custodian of seasons. There are people, when they appear in your life, they are a symbol of a season. When they disappear from your life, they are a symbol of a season. So as I come to the end of this broadcast today, I just want to say to somebody that you are a custodian of seasons. Seasons come to pass because of what you declare. Seasons come to pass because of what you say. And whatever season you are going through, you have to understand that seasons are supposed to give you an advantage. You have dominion over seasons, and seasons don't have dominion over you. It's been a pleasure to be on this broadcast. Very honored, very humbled. Thank you, Apostle Java, for giving me this opportunity. God bless you. God bless you. This is Revelation Talk with Apostle Manfred. God bless you.